Hello, everyone. My name is Miriam Mutebi, and I'm a member of the Education and Training Committee of the African Organization for Research and Training and VP East Africa for AORTIC. And I'm joined by Nazik Hamad, who is the chair of the Education and Training Committee for AORTIC. If you're joining us just now, I hope you've been tuning in because this is a part of a series of talks, of pre-conference videos that we're sharing for the faculty development workshop run by the African Organization for Research and Training in Cancer. We've talked in our previous videos a little about just a brief introduction around faculty development, why it's such a huge need that has been identified by African oncologists. And again, talking a little about career development. We've spent the last couple of videos just talking about curriculum and program evaluation. And for this particular video, we're going to do just to give you a teaser around the modules that we're designing around leadership and mentorship. And so looking through what we intend to cover over the modules, I think we're just basically looking at identifying the tenets of effective leadership, describing how to manage change. Change is never comfortable, it's never easy, but how do we learn to develop the skills to actively manage that, and to, again, identify the challenges and sources of support for being a leader. By being an oncologist, you do, and being the quite few in number in sub-Saharan Africa, you find yourself being the de facto leader in many situations, or having to wear many hats, either as an administrator or advising policymakers. So how do you then identify the sources of support and skill sets that you do need in order to have effective leadership?
And by the time you're in your oncology training or you're a junior faculty, you've already done a lot of management. And so here we will discuss the difference between management and leadership. So as a manager, you produce order and consistency through planning and budgeting, problem solving, organizing and staffing, and controlling and monitoring. As a leader, you take it to the next level, because what you do is you produce change and movement. You set directions. It's not just solving the problem, but defining the problem. You build commitment, and most importantly, you motivate others, and you sustain others and the programs that you are leading.
Thanks, Nazik. And as we're saying, it's pretty much trying to define having a clear vision and having that shared collective vision that you're able to share with a team, that you're able to build and sustain. And so leadership is first and foremost about change. Keep in mind that as oncologists, we're leading fairly complex systems. And so the systems are never stable. There's always things happening. Maybe there's stockouts, there's things that are going on, or there's something that happens, maybe a natural disaster. So it's the cancer care delivery systems are never static. The recent pandemic has shown us that a lot of things could suddenly ground to a halt, and then trying to figure out within that structure or within whatever else is going on, how do we ensure the continuity of care delivery? And that's where effective and appropriate leadership comes in. And again, because the change is always piecemeal, it's incoherent, frequently fragmented, how do you sort of, step aside from all the white noise happening in the background and figure out this is the direction we want to take, or these are the strategies we need to employ? And how do we, again, we'll also teach you through the course, how do you mobilize the social attractors? Yes, change is painful. Yes, it can be uncomfortable, but how do we harness the things that make change bearable or a more comfortable journey? And this is, again, in identifying things that have like a moral purpose, where we're looking at things that will ultimately are for the common good, maybe improving patient outcomes, again, enhancing the quality of relationships, whether it's within the immediate sphere, within the team, or how will they collectively build knowledge? And those are the factors and key aspects that we're hoping to share in the course of the program.
And again, we know that health care systems are complex, and this complexity is very important. It's a important concept applicable for leadership in education and training. So there are uncertainty and inherent in the system, again, as resources that are inconsistent, standards that are inconsistent, and sometimes the problems could be so overwhelming that you feel they cannot be solved. You feel helpless and hopeless. But it's important to remember that even problems that cannot be solved can nevertheless be moved forward, and that effective solution can emerge from minimum specification. And what we mean by that is that you don't, even in limited resources, you don't need like high technology to advance care or to advance education. You can make big changes. Big effects can come from small changes. And another important concept in when you talk to trainees and young faculty is that and about leadership, they would say, oh, I'm not in mode of a staff of leader, because they feel a leader has to be charismatic, has to have a certain way of looking and talking. However, this is been shown that it might produce some effect initially, having a charismatic leader that people flock around. However, it's negatively associated with sustainability. So leadership is not just about how you talk and how you carry yourself, and but it's really about deeper understanding of the system, about understanding the complexity, and about being able to motivate others.
And so part of the tools that we're hoping to impart is, again, looking at how well developed you are as a leader, and getting self-insight and just the knowledge and awareness of not just insight for yourself, but what are the strengths of my team? What are the unique skills that each individual in the team is bringing to the table? And how do we harness those strengths for the collective good? Again, you have to have deep contextual awareness and the ability to scan the horizon. It's the ability to anticipate where the trends are going, and to anticipate potential changes or concerns, and figuring out how do we then start to plan for those ahead of time rather than being reactive. And again, we have sort of mentioned the point about how you have to lead within a complex environment in education and health systems, but ultimately comes down to, again, walking the walk. What is your level of authenticity? You can't necessarily be talking about, managing contexts and situations that you may not necessarily have directly engaged in. And of course, the importance of role modeling. It's not just, do what I say, but not how I act. It's ultimately how you act, how you lead, how you carry yourself in all the aspects that ultimately percolates down to your team.
So I think we will now move to mentoring, which is a very important aspect of the faculty development that has been identified. And in Sub-Saharan Africa, the number of oncologists is small. So most of the young oncologists and trainees find themselves in this complex situation in which they are both a mentee and a mentor. And I think this is, although it's very challenging, it's an excellent way to develop both the skills of being a good mentor and mentee. And so we're hoping in our modules to identify the challenges, responsibilities, and tools required to being an effective mentor and mentee, and and also identify the important component of the mentorship process and the importance of this networks.
And so we talk a lot about mentoring, but why is it so important? And I think one of the key aspects around this is, one, the whole socialization into the profession, just building the community of practice, being able to interact with your peers, learning the ropes, as it were, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, learning perhaps what works in your environment, what doesn't, and then also looking towards the development of meaningful academic activities, whether these involve teaching, service delivery, all the way through research. Mentoring is a key aspect that helps to drive this agenda forward. And also career satisfaction. We sometimes think of mentorship as a unidirectional construct, but what we do know is there is enhanced career satisfaction for both mentors and mentees. So it's actually a bi-directional relationship that helps to enhance the engagement of both the mentor and the mentor and the mentee, and ultimately the development of a close collaborative relationship that would actually probably run the span of your entire professional career and beyond.
So who is that? What are the characteristics of an effective mentor? What does an effective mentor do? An effective mentor will support you, will challenge you so that you can give the best of what you have. The mentor can also help you create a vision for your future career. And that's what we discussed previously in career development, that having a vision for the career is the most important aspect of career success and satisfaction. A mentor can also help broker opportunities for you because they've been there before. They have wider networks, they know what resources are available. A mentor can also motivate you and serve as a role model for you so that you can aspire to reach similar career effectiveness as your mentor.
And so just to build on what Nazik's saying, an effective mentor values the mentee as a person. So it's rather than, trying to get beyond, say, the academic facade, but trying to understand who is this person that I am trying to mentor? What is their context? What is their family situation? What is their cultural background? Because all these will ultimately help you be more effective to that mentee. If you have no idea of all these other additional spheres or nuances that surround your mentee, then you can't necessarily be an effective mentor. Again, you want to be able to develop mutual trust and respect with sort of having a safe space where mentees can, approach you in confidence and discuss things without necessarily having them amplified within the context. And again, really circling back to maintaining that confidentiality. And again, I would say, developing the skill around listening to both what is being said and how it is being said, because sometimes if you just get the message on the surface, I mean, there might be some deeper underlying reasons, and you may want to think about, even more importantly, what is not being said, because that could actually ultimately have considerable implications to the mentee. And again, really in the realm of problem solving, helping them to work through his or her problem, and giving them the skills to do that rather than being prescriptive and trying to give them direction. I think you should do this, just helping them build through that process of thinking through the problem, coming up with different solutions, and then finding ultimately the solution that best works for them. And again, focusing on the mentee's development and resisting the urge to produce a clone. Dolly was fine, but we don't need replicates. Your mentee might not necessarily have the same skill set or strengths that you have. The idea is to build the individual with their strengths and help to push them forward in the direction that best suits their unique abilities and skill sets.
Again, as we mentioned, an effective mentor defines and fosters independence. So there are ways to help your, when we say define, there's certain milestones that you can agree with your mentee as to what is independence, maybe like writing a certain level of the grant or publishing a paper or delivering a teaching activity independently, and that will be a milestone that you want them to get there. So you need to define it. You also want to help me mentee identify gaps in knowledge or skills and how to close them, where the resources that they can acquire these knowledges, and then enhancing teaching practices. So if you're mentoring a new faculty, you have to assist them with developing and maintaining a teaching portfolio, for example, for promotion, or knowing how you go around preparing for promotion, and that has to be started early on. And then again, they have to, this comes again to the complexity of most of us, especially in Africa, found ourselves in this a complex spot where you're a mentee and also a mentor. So when you're a mentor, you need to teach your mentee how to be a good mentor. And of course, you provide encouragement and enhancement mentee confidence. And we will be talking about what are several ways you can enhance the mentee confidence.
Again, as we said, this is a bidirectional relationship. And so looking at how do you become a good mentee? One, you need to choose your mentor wisely. Again, you're frequently keeping in mind that there's a very limited pool of mentors. You also have to, and most of the mentors are really busy. It's learning about how do you effectively respect your mentor's time. Again, take the initiative. Don't just, sit back and expect that the mentor is going to do everything for you. Again, be engaging, energizing, fun to work with. Keep, sending prompts to your mentor. Suggest areas or potential projects that you can perhaps work on together. Deliver on time. I think Nazik always says, under promise but over deliver, and that's a good sort of maxim to have. Again, seek and accept feedback maturely. Keep in mind that the whole point behind the mentorship relationship is they're supposed to refine and build you. So you need to be able to learn to receive critique and feedback and not be defensive about it, but look at it at how can I, rather than look at it like what's wrong with me, look at it from the view of how can I improve on this, or how can I improve my skills in this particular area. Nobody's born, perfect. It's all about iterating, improving, and learning to get better. Again, pretty much harks back to the same thing we're saying as frame your problems as opportunities for growth and avoid excessive complaining about people or situations. And again, being generous, acknowledging the team, everyone who's been involved in the projects you're in, and thanking and giving credit to your mentor.
And I guess this comes from my own experience. I think if you really, really want to be a good mentee, a couple of things that you should not do at all. And number one is always answer your mentor's emails on time. And this really about knowing how do you communicate with your mentor? What is the best way for communicating with your mentor? A lot of the younger generation, they don't use email as much. Maybe they use WhatsApp, but some mentors use only emails. And not answering the email is considered a sign of lack of respect. And you don't want a mentor to lose interest in you, because you never know what is the next opportunity, the next lesson, the next sort of mentoring activity that can come through this mentor. So always respect your time, but always make sure to maintain communication and on time. The other thing is life is sometimes can be very difficult for many of us. We will have times when we can't do everything at the same time, but it's the worst thing you can do is to disappear from a mentoring relationship. So you need, even if you are going to have time when you're not going to be working on a project or you're not going to be available, you need to make that clear to your mentor so that they're not wondering what's happened to this person, what that happened to this person. So when you appear again and you want to that help with that grant or help with that recommendation or help with that advice, your mentor has already lost interest in you. So keep these are golden rules. I hope you will keep them. And go next.
Yeah, and I think in closing, I would say it's a great time to be an African oncologist. We have, I would say, there's lots to do, but there's also so much to give. We wear many hats. We're teachers, leaders, mentors, medical experts, scholars, advocates, collaborators, professionals. My particular favorite is change agents and stewards of resources. And so it's being cognizant of that, and how do we use those resources to ultimately give value to our patients. To quote Nina Simone, she says, it's wonderful to be young, gifted, and Black, but I think ultimately the challenge lies in all of us, and we can't do this. It's just, getting the skills and tools that we need to become effective leaders and change agents in our respective areas. And so this is a plugin to log into the AORTIC website and register for the conference and for the workshop. This is going to be a longitudinal workshop, and there's going to be several online modules. This has just been a teaser of some of the things that we're hoping to provide. We're hoping that wherever you are across Africa, you will engage, you will come in, you will enroll, and let's keep this conversation going. Thank you and good night.
Night. Just one last thing, I would like to say that a lot of the content on the module will also depend on your input. So we are hoping this model is a co-creation of knowledge and content. Thank you, Miriam.
All right. Thank you.